It's natural to want to do your best in life, but there's a difference between being perfect and being real. Super Mom by Bombeck. Read by Karl. A group of first graders at Ruby Elementary School were asked by their teacher to draw a portrait of their mother as they saw her. The art was displayed at an open house. Some others were predicted standing on a sailboat, others for hauling groceries, cutting grass, or talking on the phone. All the mothers had one thing in common: they were pregnant. In the suburbs, pregnancy wasn't a condition, it was the current style. Everyone was wearing a stomach in various stages of development, whether you looked good in one or not. Our family felt I was too short for pregnancy and told my husband so. A lot of women looked great when they were expecting. I was always the one with the hem that reached down to the ankle on the back and up to the knees in front, that forever dribbled things down my stomach. Usually I went into maternity clothes at 2 weeks. By the 9th, 10th, or 11th month, my drawstrings wouldn't draw, my mirror talked back to me. Sometimes I'd sink into a chair in my 5th month and couldn't get out until the 9th month of labor, or the chair caught fire, whichever came first. The preoccupation with motherhood was the one thing we had in common. From then on, mothers were divided into two distinct groups: the super moms and the interim moms. The super moms were faster than a speeding bullet, more powerful than a harsh laxative, and able to leap 6 shopping carts on a double stamp day. She was the drag for all seasons. Supermom was a product of isolation, a husband who was rarely home, and a clean oven wish. There was a waiting list for canonization. The interim mothers were just biding their time until the children were grown. They never gave their right name at PTA meetings, hid candy under the dish towel so the kids would never find it, had newspapers lying on the cupboard shelves that read, "Meloria stops work on the canal," and secretly believed someday they would be kissed by an ugly meter reader and turned into Joey de Heatherton. There were no restrictions in suburban gems. Supermoms were free to integrate any time they wished, and when one moved in across the street, I felt the only decent thing to do was welcome her to the neighborhood. The moving man hadn't been gone a minute when we saw her in the yard waxing her garden hose. I walked over with my 9-bean trash salad and knocked on the door. Her name was Estelle. I could not believe the inside of her house. The furniture was shining and in place. The mirrors and pictures were hung. There was not a cardboard box in sight. The books were on the shelves. There were fresh flowers on the kitchen table, and she had an iron tablet in her hand ready to pop into her mouth. "I know things are an absolute mess on moving day," I fumbled. "Are people ever settled?" she asked, picking a piece of lint off the fridge. Then she waltzed in the kitchen and, seeing one lock of hair in her son's eyes, grimaced and said, "Boys will be boys." If my kids looked that good, I'd have sold them. "If you need anything from the store, I go every 3 hours," I offered. "I shop once a month," she said. "I find I save money that way by buying quantity and by planning my meals. Besides, I'm a miser with my time. I read voraciously. Right now I'm into Cather. And I try to go 3 or 4 places a week with the children. They're very aware of contemporary art. Now they're starting the romantics. "Could I get you something?" she asked softly. "I just baked a chiffon cake." I felt my face break out. "The doctor said I have to put on some weight, and I try desperately, I really do." I wanted to smack her right across the mouth. Frankly, what it boiled down to was this: could a woman who dyed all her household linens black to save time find happiness in a woman who actually had a baby picture of her last child? The interim mothers tried to get along with Estelle, but it wasn't easy. There was just no getting ahead of her. If the Blessed Mother had called Estelle and said, "Guess what, Estelle, I'm expecting a saver," Estelle would have said, "Me too." She cut the grass, baked her own bread, shoveled the driveway, grew her own herbs, made her children's clothes, altered her husband's suits, played the organ at church, planned the vacation, paid the bills, was on 3 phone committees, 5 carpools, 2 boards, took her garden hose in during the winter, took her ironing board down every week, stocked the freezer with sides of beef, made her own Christmas cards, voted in every election, saw her dentist twice a year, assisted in the delivery of her dog's puppies, melted down all candles, saved the antifreeze, and had a pencil by her phone. "Where's Estelle?" asked Helen as she dropped by one day. "Who knows? Probably painting her varicose veins with Crayolas to make them look like textured stockings. Tell you, that woman gets on my nerves." "She's a bit much," said Helen. A bit much. Would you trust a woman who always knows where her car keys are? I think she'd like to be your friend. It wouldn't work. You could try. You don't know what you're saying. She's so organized. They're the only house in the block that has fire drills. Take the other day. The school called to tell her Kevin had been hurt. Remember what happened when the school called me when my son flunked his eye test? You became hysterical and had to be put on a sedation. Right, on Estelle. She calmly got her car keys off the hook, threw a coordinated sweater over her coordinated snacks, put the dinner in the oven on warm, picked up that pencil by the phone, wrote a note, went to school to pick up Kevin, and drove him to the emergency ward. So, you could have done that. I'm not finished. In the emergency ward, she deposited Kevin, remembered his birth date, his father's name, and recited their hospitalization number from memory. I remember when you took Andy to the hospital. I don't want to talk about it. What was it again the doctor said? He wanted to treat my cracked heels. That's right. He had to write a check for a dime to make a phone call. Okay, I remember. Actually, Estelle didn't bother anyone. She was much more than a blur, whipping in and out of the driveway each day. I was surprised when she appeared in my mailbox. Irma, she asked, what's wrong with me? Nothing, I hedged. Why? Be honest with me. I don't fit in the neighborhood. Why? I don't know how to explain it, I faltered. It's just that you're typical when you call from the drugstore and ask what you use for your irregularities. Oh, I want us to be someone's friend. I know you do, Estelle, and I'd like to help you. First, you have to understand what a friend is. Tell me. It's sort of hard to understand, but a friend doesn't go on a diet when you're fat. A friend never defends her husband who got his wife an electric skillet for her birthday by saying, at least he's not one to carouse around at night. A friend will tell you she saw your old boyfriend, and he's a priest. A friend will babysit your children when they're contagious. A friend, when asked what you think of a home perm, will lie. A friend will sit in the killing when it tries to come into the fitting room when you're trying on bathing suits. But most of all, a friend will not make every moment of every day count and screw it up for the rest of us. From then on, Estelle, neighborhood supermom, began to change. Not all at once, but week by week we saw her learning how to compromise with herself. At first it was little things, like buying a deodorant that wasn't on sale and scraping the list of emergency numbers off the phone with her fingernail. The next week, Estelle ran out of gas while making the Girl Scout run. A few days later, she forgot to tie her garbage cans together and the dogs dragged TV dinners all over her lawn for the world to see. You could almost see her image begin to crumble. She dropped it unexpectedly one afternoon and leaned over the divider to confide, I've come to the conclusion there's an afterlife. An afterlife? Right. I think life goes on after the children are grown. Who told you that? I read it on a vitamin label. What are you trying to say, Estelle? I'm trying to tell you I'm going to run away from home. Back to the city. There's a life for me back there. Don't talk crazy, I said. I've tried to be so perfect, she sobbed. I know. At that moment, one of Estelle's children ran excitedly into the room. Mommy, Mommy, she said wildly. I was on the side using a toothpaste with fluoride and I only have one cavity. Estelle looked at her silently for a full minute and said, Who cares? She was one of us. The end.